Okay. Good evening, everybody. Tonight is Niggunim night, and to choose a Niggun wasn't so difficult because tonight is the birthday of the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Chabad Rebbe, who is well known for a lot of things. But if you go to a Fabrengen, a real Fabrengen, I'll show you a picture. I think this is a Fabrengen in my old yeshiva. This is what it used to look like. Poor guy is picking his nose over here, blowing his nose. If you're sitting in a Fabrengen tonight, they're going to talk about the Rebbe Rashab, and what they're going to talk about is the yeshiva that he founded in the mid 19th century. The Rebbe Rashab founded the Lubavitch Yeshiva. What was unique about the Lubavitch Yeshiva? A Chabad was really called the Lubavitch Yeshiva. There were many yeshivas before that, places of learning, and it was really, yeshivas were reserved for the elite. You can imagine in Russia, even in the Arabic countries, nobody had any money. So kids were working from the age of 5. Maybe they went to cheder, they went to school, like elementary school. And by the time they turned 8, 10, the parents like, okay, we need you to come work for us because we can't afford to, there's pogroms, there's famines. We're always on the run. Can't afford for you to go to school. And if you didn't have an amazing head, you couldn't really learn extremely well, they weren't going to send you. It's too expensive. The yeshiva itself couldn't support you. So nobody really went. Very few people went to yeshiva. So it was reserved for the elite. Now, most of the yeshivas were really in Poland. Poland was known to have the big yeshivas. Lublin, Chachmei Lublin. In Lublin, that's where a big yeshiva was. And it was pretty rigorous. It would start at, let's say, 6 o'clock in the morning. You learn Gemara, you learn Halacha, you learn a bit more Gemara. It would probably end at about 10 o'clock at night. So you can imagine sitting and learning with maybe 2 meal breaks that were about 40 minutes each, maybe 30 minutes each, and the rest of the day you spent learning. You had to have the stamina to even be able to do such a thing, let alone a really good head. Now, what happened was like this. In Russia, there was the Haskulla Movement. The Enlightenment really swept through, and Jews were really turning on Jews to bring them into universities. All the really big heads, all the really smart guys, they would try to get them to the university or get into political positions, and forget about Judaism completely. And then it got so bad that they would kill you if you would do otherwise. What the Rebbe Rashab established at the 16th birthday of his son, which was also his wedding day, he said, we're going to open up a yeshiva. And the yeshiva is going to be called Tomchei Tamimim. And the students are going to be called Tamimim. Tamimim means wholesome ones. Wholesome meaning they're earnest, they're sincere. They're sincere in their avodas Hashem and their service to God. And they're going to have another name. And their name is going to be called Chayali Beis David. Soldiers. If you know anything about the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, a soldier is called a Chayal. So the Rebbe Rashab, Israel didn't exist then, the state of Israel. So the didn't name it after them, but a Chayal, he called the students Chayalim. Why Chayalim? What's unique about a soldier? A soldier is a soldier, whether he's awake or he's asleep, whether he's eating or going to the bathroom, whatever he's doing, he's always a soldier. The Rebbe Rashab wanted people who are willing to go on Mesiras Nefesh, have self-sacrifice, be front-line soldiers for Judaism. And that required the addition of Chassidus as part of what's called the Seder. You've heard of the Passover Seder. Seder means an order, the order of the day, the schedule. So what was unique about Lubavitch is that there was going to be Chassidus as part of the Seder. So in the morning, they would learn 2 hours of Chassidus, and then in the evening, they would learn another 2 hours of Chassidus. Before then, it was just halacha or Gemara, basically. Because the Rebbe Rashab knew that a person needs to be imbued with a sense of mission. We don't just learn for the sake of learning to become, or to learn for intelligence. Basically, in the times of before this Haskulla movement, Jews were not allowed to be a part of, the professoriate, to be doctors or be lawyers. If they wanted to expand their mind, they're very intellectual. They couldn't, the way to show off, so to speak, their intellectual capabilities was to go to yeshiva. And there, it was not uncommon, unfortunately, for a student to arrive and on Shabbos, light up a cigarette, which is not allowed to do that on Shabbos, light up a cigarette and open a Gemara, open up a Talmud, and pontificate. Because it wasn't really about Judaism. It was about them showing their intellectual prowess, their intellectual capabilities. Now, not all students were like that. Not all yeshivas were like that. But the big ones, like Panovich, it was kind of a joke. It was because it was true. Yeah, every joke has some truth to it. It was really about, I went because I couldn't get a regular job. I couldn't become a professor. And so I go here to show my intellectual capabilities. So there was always that. You always found that in a yeshiva. Even after Jews were able, the communist movement took over and Jews were able to go to the highest levels of society, so to speak, and encouraged and to leave their Judaism and to accept socialism, communism. And so those people quickly found, those that were into, going to yeshiva for the sake of just showing my intellectual capabilities, they went right to the front lines of joining communism and leading the movement and being in the professoriate. So the Rebbe Rashab said, Judaism's survival is going to be dependent upon those who are willing to have self-sacrifice. There's going to be very little reward for those who sacrifice. They know that communism was coming and they were going to shut down all the yeshivas. He saw that they were going to shut down the yeshivas and the mikvahs, and they were going to start taking children away from parents and having them tell on their parents and anything to end Judaism. End all religion, but especially Judaism, as time went on. And he said, okay, we're going to need people who are willing to go on what's called Mesiras Nefesh, to have self-sacrifice. So we need to train them properly. So that is what a Lubavitch yeshiva is all about. It's about having, first and foremost, a person should be earnest. They have to have strong intellectual capabilities. They have to be earnest, sincere, wholesome, and they have to have a love and a fire for Judaism, for Yiddishkeit, and not just Yiddishkeit, but a Jew as well. And I think we see that with Chabad. Chabad being, I think we see ourselves as the frontline soldiers. We'll go anywhere to help any Jew in any community in the world for whatever it is, not just spiritually, but physically as well. And there's no money coming in from Central Chabad, New York City. You go there and you fundraise yourself and you figure it out. You get dropped in there, you parachute in behind enemy lines, and you make it work. As the joke goes, you have the Breslover Chassidim. Yeah, they have long payas. Why do they have very long payas? Those long silocks, very long, because it says about their Rebbe, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, says if a Jew is found in Gehenim, in hell, so to speak, whatever hell is, Gehenim, it's not what you think, but Gehenim, I'll pick you up by your payas and I will drag you out. It's a real thing, what they say. And what is Chabad? How's the joke go with Chabad? Chabad, yeah, one time a Lubavitcher was sent to Gehenim, Chas Shalom, and he called out to his Rebbe. Yeah, he saw the Breslover guy call out to his Rebbe, Nachman, take me out of Gehenim. And he picked him up by the payas and they flew away. But the Lubavitcher called out to his Rebbe and said, Rebbe, take me out of Gehenim. The Rebbe looks down and says, no, open up a Chabad house down there. It's a joke, but it's true. It didn't actually happen, but that's the joke. So anyway, we're frontline soldiers, and that's what the Rebbe Rashab established. That's the main thing. What does it mean to be a soldier? What does it mean to go behind enemy lines? What does it mean to be fired up about Judaism, fired up about your heritage, and not just for yourself? Really, the Rebbe Rashab says we're lamplighters. What's a lamplighter? A lamplighter doesn't just light up his own lamp. His job is to go to other lamps that are maybe burning out and light them up. And someone said, well, what if the lamp is in the middle of the ocean? Said the Rebbe Rashab, then you'll swim into the middle of the ocean and light up the lamp. So it's like, it's no joke over here. So this is the yeshiva that I was in. This is one of the Lubavitch yeshivas. It's called Oli Torah. It's not a very, these aren't very good pictures, but I used to sit somewhere over here. This is the one in Detroit. So they have branches everywhere. This is the one about 10 minutes away from me. It's very nice. And this is the Rebbe Rashab. This is the Rebbe Rashab didn't like photos taken of himself. This is the only known photo that we have. This was his passport photo. He had to travel around the world, really around Europe from time to time. A very interesting story. He went to the Louvre. He was in France. His father spoke perfect French. Interesting. There's a very interesting story about that. He had to get a passport. He was traveling around, and this is his passport photo. That's the Rebbe Rashab, Reb Shalom Dovber. You ever heard anybody named Beryl or Dov? This is in Lubavitch. This is who they're named after. This is a Fabrengen. Now, there's three well-known Niggunim, Hasidic melodies that the Rebbe Rashab enjoyed, favored. When we say like the Rebbe Rashab has a Niggun, or the previous Rebbe has a Niggun, or the Rebbe has a Niggun. Yeah, we say certain people have Niggunim. It doesn't necessarily mean they compose them. It means they favored them. They enjoyed them the most, and they would have people sing them often until it basically became known as their Niggun. So there's two very well known Niggunim that people often sing. One of them is called the Achana Niggun, the preparation Niggun. Why is it called the preparation Niggun? Because before our Rebbe, the seventh Rebbe, would say a mimer, a Hasidic discourse, he would prepare. There would be a Niggun preparing one for the Niggun. For the mimer. A Niggun served really two, in my mind, in my heart, in my thoughts, it serves two purposes. And it's not my own thoughts, I've heard this before, but I agree with it. One is it prepares you, it softens you up. It makes you a keli, makes you a vessel to hear ideas. Why does it do that? What does it do? Well, a melody is, as the author of it said, that the pen, a pen is the words of the heart. Yeah, you write with a pen. Those are words of the heart. But a song is words of the soul. It elevates you. Yeah, it makes your soul come alive. It makes your soul come out. There's a very famous story with the Alter Rebbe was in front of a bunch of what's called misnagdim, opponents, but they had a special name. They were Litvisher people, people that were against Hasidic and the Hasidic movement. And they were giving him they sat him down at the table and were giving him a bunch of arguments. What you're doing is wrong. Hasidism is terrible. It's against Judaism. And they asked him a bunch of questions from the Talmud. How can they do this from halacha? And on and on and on and on. And so before the Alter Rebbe gave them an answer, he sang a Niggun. And they were caught into the Niggun. And when it was over, they had no more questions. Not that they forgot their questions. All their questions became answered. And one person there explained that something about the Niggun, it elevated us up. And we weren't caught in the thicket. Yeah, we weren't caught in the mess. We weren't caught in the details. Everything became clear. Yeah, when you raise yourself up, everything's become easier and more simple. Yeah, you fly in an airplane, you look down, okay, cars seem to be moving in a road. You don't hear the noise, you don't hear the sound, everything. Yeah, you raise yourself up, things become easier and simpler. And that's why their questions were answered, because they understood. They were able to see for themselves. So a Niggun prepares you, but for me, and I think this is very important, after you hear an idea in a Farbrengen, right away you'll hear a Niggun. Somebody shares a Devar Torah, a word of Torah, a thought, an intellectual thought at a Shabbos table or at a Farbrengen, Hasidic gathering. Right after they're done, we'll sing a Niggun. Yeah, they'll say L'chaim. They'll say some sort of either on vodka or whiskey. You don't have to. And then they'll sing a Niggun. What's the point of the Niggun? You don't get stuck in the Niggun. The Niggun is a time of reflection. It's a time to really think about what was just said and make it a part of you. A lot of times we hear a nice speech. I know I have this issue at shul, and so does Rabbi Schneer and the rabbi himself, that we'll give we'll be done. We'll give our speech, our Shabbos afternoon speech, whatever it is, or after the Torah reading. People will come up to me like, oh, that was amazing. That was really moving. It was incredible. And then you ask them like 2 minutes later, do you know what I said? It's like, I don't remember. I just remember walking away amazed. I don't remember what they said yesterday. I don't remember what was said before. It happens very often. I mean, it happens to me as well, because I didn't have time to reflect. Basically, you told me the idea, and then I moved my mind onto something else. Yeah, whatever it was. So that's it. It goes in one ear and out the other. Now you remember the feeling that was left. You remember the feeling of being elated, and it was something powerful. And like, what do they say? People will never remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. Okay, that is great, and that's wonderful. But you want the ideas to become part of you. So that's the idea of a Niggun. A Niggun lets it sink in and lets it become part of you. And there's a very famous painting by my favorite artist. His name is Zalman Kleinman. Zalman Kleinman had a way of capturing a feeling of what it was like in different situations, whether it was Farbrengens or Kiddush Levana, when we would bless the moon, whatever was going on in Hasidic life, we were able to capture it very well. I apologize, my pictures are not very clear. I couldn't find more clear pictures, but here's a Farbrengen, and you can see they're obviously singing a Niggun. They have their eyes closed, and he's got his head down. He's thinking because something was just shared, and he's thinking about it. So that's there's a Chana Niggun, the preparation Niggun, and this is called the Rostover Niggun, which we'll play over here. Rostov, which is where the Rebbe Rashab had to run to after he left Lubavitch. Yeah, the Yidden were chased out of Lubavitch. We had to leave Lubavitch, the city of Lubavitch, and he went to Rostov, which is a big city. There used to be a yeshiva there. I never went. I don't think I was there. He was there, and this is the Niggun that was often sung in Rostov. And I think I'm going to just play it. It's kind of a long Niggun, so I don't really want to sing it. I do want to sing it. I'll sing it to myself, but you guys will just listen along. So this is the Rostover Niggun. It's more of a reflective Niggun. It's a Niggun that's usually sung after an idea was shared. And I think the idea that we should think about is that the Rebbe Rashab, his point that what's a big takeaway from the Rebbe Rashab, that we have to be fired up about Judaism, and it's not just enough to fire ourselves up. Fire is a very good word. Fired up. Why fired up? When you get fired up, because what's unique about fire is that you share with somebody else. Yeah, you take one fire, you light one candle, and you put it onto another candle, the flame to another candle. It can light up another candle without losing itself. It doesn't lose anything. It's taking from the essence, basically. It lights up another candle and it continues to burn. Nothing is lost. That's the same thing about a soul. A soul can light up another soul without losing its own identity, it doesn't lose anything. Unlike, You have $2 and you give $1 to somebody else. You lose $1. That's the problem with physicality. It's a lie. It's not something true. It's not something that will last forever. It doesn't continue. That's why the soul is something which continues. Fire, a Jew, that's why it says in the Torah, Ner Havaya Nishmas Adam. It says a fire. What is a soul? The soul is fire. That's a candle. It's fire. So you get fired up. It says in Rashab, it's not enough just to fire yourself up, but you got to go fire somebody else up. And you got to do it at all costs, even if everyone's laughing at you. That's Avram says, Echad Haya Avram. Avram was the only one in the world who acted the way he did. He was thrown into fire. He was so radical in his thinking and his way of life. It doesn't matter. That's implanted in each and every one of us. That ability to stand up for what's right, and we don't continue to do what we need to do with courage. Yeah, what's great about courage is you feel the fear, but you do it anyway. I have a friend who I once interviewed. His name was Howard Bihar. Howard Bihar was the COO of Starbucks. He and Howard Schultz built Starbucks. I should have him on. I'll get him on one time. He's a great guy, very proud of his Judaism. He would always say, feel the fear and do it anyway. That's a big takeaway. So I want to play the Rostover Niggun right now. And let's think about the idea, the words of the Rebbe Rashab. He wants us all to be soldiers.
Not sure if we can hear it well.
Yeah. Can nobody hear it?
It's kind of muffled.
It's breaking up.
Okay. Can you not hear it? Can you hear it now? And it repeats itself. It must, just like all other Niggunim, they don't end. They don't end. Just like we always explain, because it's a never-ending process. As we always explain, in Judaism, the idea of teshuvah, of becoming a better person, there's no such thing as making it in Judaism. Yeah, as soon as you decide to make it, it's all over. There's as the famous story of the Yochanan, the high priest, the Rebbe Yochanan, the high priest, Kohen Gadol. There was a Kohen Gadol for 80 years. 80 years means 80 times he saw God face to face in the Holy of Holies, Kodesh Kadashim, miracles upon miracles, the holiest person in the world. And after 80 years, he fried out, so to speak. He became not frum anymore. He went all downhill. Why? Because what happened was one day he said, you know what? I've really accomplished a lot. I've really made it. I've done a lot. I've done more than the average person. And that was the beginning of retirement. Yeah, those kinds of words, the beginning of retirement. And we don't believe in retirement. Now, if you got to slow down, you slow down according to your physical capabilities. But we don't slow down on purpose. You keep going. As it says, like we said earlier today, we're mahalchin, we're goers, we're movers, we're milin b'kodesh. We continue to rise up. As soon as you decide to say, you know what, let me take a little step back, let me lean back in my chair, put my feet up. You can do that once a day, like you need to do. But if you say that, like that's my new MO, it's all downhill from there, and everything kind of spirals out of control because you start thinking about yourself. You think you've made it, you kind of plateau. And once we plateau, we come back down. So in Judaism, everything's repetitive. You hear the same ideas. Yeah, I've repeated myself a million times probably. And I do that on purpose. I do it for myself. I do it for you. But I do it for myself so that it becomes part of who I am. In a Fabrengen, this Niggun will be sung, sometimes by the Rebbe's Fabrengens. A Niggun will be sung for 30, 40 minutes. Hours sometimes. That's kind of rare. But it would happen. Most of the time, it'll go around 3 or 4 times. The Niggun. This Niggun probably wouldn't go around 3 or 4 times, maybe twice. But very often, Niggunim will go around a few times. It says, let the idea sink in, and the idea that it should continue, not just sink in, but should continue to sink in. So we should have the schos of the Rebbe Rashab. His merit should be upon us. It says on a person's birthday, Mazlayu Gover. It says that his mazel. Remember, I think last week, Rabbi Schneider spoke about the mazel, or 2 weeks ago. Jews have no mazel. Why? What's mazel? Mazel is that part that connects the higher levels of the neshama to the lower levels of the neshama. The higher levels of the soul to the lower levels of the soul. There's 5 levels, 2 of which surround us, and they're higher, and they drip down. What they experience drips down into us. Mazel means to drip down, like nasal. Now, mazel, it drips down. And it says that mazlayu gover, that the mazel is much stronger on that day, and they're able to give, they have a power of blessing. The neshama is much more revealed. The neshama is much more connected to the body, and therefore we can take advantage of that. And we explained earlier that when a tzaddik passes away, he's found more here on this earth than he was while the neshama was in a body. Because when the soul's in a body, it's constrained. It can only operate within the body. But once it leaves the body, it goes everywhere in the world. It goes everywhere throughout all of creation. And therefore, there's no limitation.
And we know that the soul of a tzaddik, the body of a tzaddik, continues to live on. It doesn't disintegrate. It continues to live on because there's a part of the soul that always remains in a body called the nefesh. Every body has the nefesh that's still there, and the mazel, the higher levels of the soul, will still communicate with the body, with the nefesh. And that's why we like to go to the grave sites of tzaddikim to communicate. Ask for them to pray on our behalf to Hashem. So right now it's very bright. It's shining strong. There's probably 300 people now, maybe even 1,000 people right now at the gravesite of the Rebbe Rashab in Rostover. Very likely. So anyway, we can take advantage of the day. We don't have to actually be there in order to take advantage. The advantage is here. It starts tonight and moves on tomorrow. It's a good time to ask Hashem for brachas, for blessing. That we should all have the ultimate blessing, ultimately Mashiach's arrival. The soul of the Rebbe Rashab will return to his body. We'll be able to sing this Niggun together with him in Yerushalayim. Everybody. Amen. Does anybody have any questions? I see that we have some. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Again, this is the Rostover Niggun. It's a painting from Zalman Kleiman of a Niggun, of a Fabrengen, them singing a Niggun by a Fabrengen. And we should only have brachas. Anybody have any questions? No questions. Then we end it. Obviously, just send me questions on WhatsApp if you have any questions. Sei gesund, everybody. A gute Nacht. And I'll see you tomorrow for halacha.